Carol Burnett's life wasn't always full of laughter and bright lights. She was born in 1933 in a small rundown hospital in San Antonio, Texas. Her early years were really tough. Both her parents struggled with alcoholism, and by the time she was just a little girl, her home was filled with shouting and anger. Sometimes her mother would get so mad that Carol had to hide under the bed to feel safe. Neighbors would bring food because her parents often didn't provide enough. Carol later said it didn't feel like a childhood, but more like just trying to survive. Even with all that going on, Carol found a way to escape through her imagination. When she was 8, she made up a twin sister named Karen. She would change clothes and pretend to be Karen, even inviting this imaginary sister to birthday parties. It was her way of coping with loneliness. She also loved movies and would watch them over and over, learning how actors moved and talked. She practiced her famous Tarzan yell on rooftops, yelling so loud that sometimes the police showed up. That yell became her signature later in life, but back then, it was just a way to feel free. Carol's grandmother took care of her and her half-sister after her parents split up. They lived in a tiny rundown apartment with no windows and shared a bathtub with other tenants. Money was tight, and sometimes they had to sneak toilet paper from movie theaters because they couldn't afford it. But Carol loved going to the movies because it was like school for her. She watched how the audience laughed and how the actors performed, soaking it all in. When she told her mother she wanted to be an actress, her mother said, "You can always write no matter what you look like." That hurt Carol deeply, but it also made her more determined to prove that talent was what really mattered. In 1954, Carol was a junior at UCLA, unsure about her future. One night, she performed a comedy sketch at a party for her professors, and they loved it. After the show, she was quietly putting cookies in her purse because she was hungry when a man in a suit came up to her. Instead of scolding her, he complimented her and offered her and a friend a loan of $1,000 each to move to New York and chase their dreams. This money was life-changing. Carol and her friend used it to pay rent and go to auditions. They dropped out of school and took a big risk, but it paid off. In 1959, Carol landed a role in a Broadway show called Once Upon a Mattress. Her performance was a hit, and she was suddenly famous. But fame didn't mean everything was perfect. On the set of the Carol Burnett show, one of her closest co-stars, Harvey Korman, started acting differently. He began being mean to guest stars and even to other cast members. The mood on set got tense. Carol, who was always kind and calm, tried to talk to Harvey about his behavior. Instead of listening, he got angry and even pushed her into the hallway and slammed the door. It was a shocking moment for Carol because they had worked together for years. But she didn't back down. She imagined herself as tough movie stars and told Harvey she had already called his agent. She made it clear he had to change or leave the show. Harvey agreed to try and be better, and he kept his promise. Their friendship healed, and they stayed close until Harvey passed away in 2008. Carol said that tough conversations saved their friendship and the show itself. While dealing with work drama, Carol's personal life was also hard. Her oldest daughter, Carrie, started using drugs when she was just 13. Carol and her husband Joe Hamilton tried everything to help her, but it was a long, painful battle. Carrie went to rehab multiple times, and the press even called it Carol Burnett's nightmare. Despite the struggles, Carrie got clean and stayed sober for over 12 years. She even spoke to schools about addiction to help others. But in 2002, Carrie died from cancer at just 38 years old. Carol's fans saw her as a funny, joyful person, but they didn't always see the pain she carried inside. Carol's marriage to Joe Hamilton also ended because of the stress from family and work. They divorced in 1984 after nearly 2 decades together. Even though they separated, they stayed in touch for the sake of their children. Joe died in 1991 from cancer, leaving a big hole in Carol's life. Another tough part of Carol's story is her friendship with Vicki Lawrence. Vicki was a close friend and co-star on the Carol Burnett show and later on Mama's Family, a spin-off show. But after Carol's divorce from Joe Hamilton, who produced Mama's Family, Carol stopped appearing on the show and pulled away from Vicki. Vicki felt hurt and confused because she stayed with the show while Carol disappeared. For years, they didn't talk much. Carol even called Vicki's husband but refused to speak to Vicki herself, promising only that she would be back. It took many years and the death of Joe Hamilton before Carol and Vicki started to reconnect. By 2023, their friendship was stronger than ever. They worked together again on a new show called Royale, and Vicky said they were closer than they had ever been. She said Carol taught her a lot about how to keep going even when life gets hard. Even in her 90s, Carol Burnett hasn't stopped working. In 2022, she appeared in the final season of Better Call Saul, playing an important role. Then in 2024, she returned to comedy with Royale, showing she still loves to perform and have fun. When asked why she keeps working, Carol said it's simple: she just wants to enjoy herself. That joy and spirit have been with her all her life, helping her through the hardest times and making millions of people laugh along the way. Carol Burnett's story is one of strength, kindness, and never giving up. She turned a difficult childhood into a career full of laughter and love. Even when life threw her the toughest challenges, she kept going, proving that with talent and heart, anything is possible.